The mysterious case of Chan Yin-lam. The mysterious case of Chan Yin-lam remains one of Hong Kong's most controversial and widely debated incidents. Her disappearance and subsequent passing in September 2019 took place during a time of intense political unrest, fueling speculation and distrust among the public. Officially ruled as a non-suspicious case by authorities, many protesters and members of the public questioned whether the truth had been deliberately concealed. On September 19, 2019, Chan was last seen leaving a group of friends in Meifu at approximately 2:15 in the afternoon. She messaged her friends, stating she was heading home, but this would be the last communication she ever made. After failing to reappear, her friends put out a missing persons alert, and her family reported her disappearance to the police on September 21st. Surveillance footage from her school later revealed that Chan left the campus barefoot and walked towards the waterfront on the same day she went missing. The unusual circumstances of her last known movements only added to the mystery surrounding her case. During the search for Chan, MTR station cleaners found a mobile phone and some stationery near an exit of TIU Kengleng station. The phone logs helped authorities identify Chan's family, who retrieved the lost items 2 days later. However, this discovery provided little insight into what had happened to her. On the morning of September 22nd, a fisherman noticed what appeared to be an object floating approximately 100 meters from the coast near Devil's Peak. Police were dispatched to the area and confirmed that the individual found was that of a female. Initially, authorities estimated the victim to be between 25 and 30 years old, with long blonde hair and a medium build. It was not until October 9th that police officially identified the individual as 15-year-old Chan Yin-lam. The police originally sought a court warrant on September 27th, stating that she was silenced. However, within a few days, authorities declared that no suspicious circumstances were involved. According to the police, preliminary results indicated that Chan had likely drowned and that no physical evidence of foul play had been discovered. Given her reported history of health struggles, authorities suggested that she may have done this to herself. One of the most significant points of contention was that Chan had been an accomplished swimmer, making it difficult for some to believe she had drowned unintentionally. The lack of immediate and transparent evidence only intensified speculation, with many believing her demise was not an accident, but rather an orchestrated cover-up. The timing of her disappearance coincided with the height of the 2019 Hong Kong protests, leading to accusations that she had been targeted by authorities due to her alleged involvement in the demonstrations. The rapid shift in the police's categorization of her case, combined with public distrust in government institutions, gave rise to numerous theories. Many protesters and anti-government activists speculated that Chan had been silenced to send a message or suppress dissent. Others pointed to the lack of transparency in the investigation, fueling concerns that critical evidence had been withheld. Further complicating the situation was the stance taken by Chan's mother, who publicly supported the police's findings. Her acceptance of the official narrative led many protesters to suspect that she had been coerced or bribed into compliance. As tensions grew, some activists began to harass Chan's mother, accusing her of being complicit in covering up her daughter's case. The police responded by arresting individuals who were involved in these accusations, adding another layer of controversy to an already complex case. A coroner's inquest was eventually held to determine the official cause of Chan's passing. However, after reviewing the available evidence, Magistrate Ko Wai-hung ruled an open verdict, meaning there was insufficient evidence to determine what had actually happened to her. To this day, the mysterious case of Chan Yin-lam remains a subject of debate. Mysterious ghost ships keep washing up in North Korea. The mystery of the North Korean ghost ships has become one of the most unsettling maritime phenomena in recent memory, drawing the attention of Japanese authorities, international observers, and coastal communities alike. Along the shores of Japan, a growing number of wooden vessels have been discovered drifting aimlessly, each one carrying silent stories of hardship, confusion, and human suffering. These boats, often weathered and damaged, appear without warning, arriving from the Sea of Japan, also known as the East Sea in both North and South Korea. Their appearance has raised troubling questions about life beyond North Korea's heavily guarded borders and the unseen struggles unfolding at sea. Japanese officials began taking notice after multiple boats were found along the coastline within a relatively short period of time. As investigations expanded, authorities confirmed that at least 11 such vessels had been recovered, some containing the remains of individuals who had passed away while adrift. In particularly distressing cases, some boats were found to contain as many as 20 people on board. These discoveries painted a stark picture of prolonged exposure, isolation, and desperation, suggesting that the vessels had been drifting for weeks or even months before reaching land. One of the most recent discoveries occurred when a vessel was brought into Fukui port after being spotted roughly 100 kilometers or 62 miles from shore. Inside were 3 sets of remains in an advanced state of decomposition, indicating that the boat had been adrift for a significant period of time. Maritime patrol units noted extensive damage to the hull, consistent with long exposure to rough seas. The silence surrounding the boat's journey only deepened the mystery, as there were no distress signals, logs, or surviving crew members to explain what had happened. Further intrigue emerged when investigators uncovered physical clues pointing toward a North Korean origin. A fragment of cloth believed to be part of a North Korean flag was found inside one of the vessels, along with markings referencing the Korean People's Army on the exterior. These details prompted intense scrutiny, as they suggested official or semi-official connections, rather than random civilian driftwood. However, the meaning behind these symbols remains unclear, adding another layer of uncertainty to an already troubling situation. Experts examining the phenomenon have proposed several explanations. One prevailing theory suggests that the vessels belonged to North Korean fishermen. Following multiple poor agricultural seasons, the North Korean government is believed to have pushed its fishing industry to operate farther and longer at sea in an effort to increase food supplies. These fishermen often rely on outdated wooden boats equipped with basic engines and limited navigational tools. Lacking radar or modern communication systems, crews may easily become disoriented, especially when faced with strong currents or sudden storms. Maritime specialists have noted that the Sea of Japan is particularly unforgiving. Seasonal typhoons, freezing temperatures, and unpredictable weather patterns can overwhelm even experienced sailors. In such conditions, small wooden boats are especially vulnerable. Prolonged exposure can lead to exhaustion, starvation, and hypothermia, leaving crews unable to navigate or seek help. Over time, these vessels may simply drift, carried by currents until they eventually reach Japanese shores. Another widely discussed theory suggests that some of these boats may have carried individuals attempting to escape North Korea. The nation's strict controls and limited freedoms have long driven speculation about covert escape attempts by sea. Supporters of this idea argue that the lack of supplies, poor vessel condition, and absence of clear fishing equipment on some boats could indicate unplanned journeys fueled by desperation rather than commerce. However, this explanation remains contested, as no definitive evidence has confirmed organized escape attempts aboard these specific vessels. Japanese specialist Satoru Miyamoto has offered an alternative perspective, cautioning against assuming defection in every case. He believes many of the individuals were likely ordinary fishermen with no military training, caught in circumstances beyond their control. According to this view, the ghost ships are less about escape and more about the quiet consequences of economic strain, environmental challenges, and inadequate maritime infrastructure. Each year, an average of around 12 North Korean vessels wash ashore in Japan, most of them empty. Yet in recent times, the increasing number of boats containing human remains has heightened concern. In the past year alone, 14 such ghost ships have arrived, carrying more than 30 individuals who never made it back to land alive. These figures underscore the scale of the issue and the urgency of understanding its causes. Ultimately, the ghost ships serve as haunting reminders of lives lost to the sea and stories left untold. The mysterious demise of Otto Warmbier. The untimely demise of Otto Warmbier on Monday, June 19th, sheds light on the intricacies of the North Korean regime. His situation stands out due to its rarity, as, according to North Korea, they do not typically subject its foreign detainees to physical abuse, resulting in long-lasting harm. The details surrounding the 22-year-old student's ordeal during his roughly 18 months of confinement in North Korea, which commenced in January of the previous year, remain largely elusive. Following his repatriation to the United States mere days before his passing, medical professionals attending to Warmbier highlighted a significant loss of brain tissue that occurred during his time in North Korea. They noted from MRI scans that he likely sustained a brain injury soon after receiving a harsh 15-year sentence of hard labor in March 2016. Despite thorough examinations, there were no compelling indications of physical assault, coercion, or similar mistreatment. North Korean medical personnel attributed his condition to botulism and the consumption of a sleeping aid that rendered him unresponsive, whereas American doctors found no substantiating evidence of botulism in their assessments. During his ordeal in North Korean captivity, the circumstances surrounding Warmbier's treatment remain shrouded in mystery. However, it is sadly not uncommon for individuals to endure inhumane conditions under the North Korean regime. The extended duration of Warmbier's captivity, despite his deteriorating health, highlights a troubling disregard for basic human rights when political agendas take precedence. This situation epitomizes the harsh reality faced by individuals detained in North Korea, where humanitarian principles often take a back seat to political expediency. The lack of transparency regarding Warmbier's treatment underscores the systematic opacity and cruelty prevalent within the North Korean detention system. This incident serves as a stark reminder of the grave human rights abuses that persist within the confines of North Korean detention facilities, where individuals like Warmbier are left vulnerable to the whims of a regime. In the midst of the international jests aimed at the leader and personality cult of North Korea, it is crucial not to overlook the grim reality that the country is still deeply entrenched in the grip of a severe police state. Within the confines of North Korea, countless individuals face atrocities comparable to, or in some instances, surpassing the ordeal endured by Warmbier. The labor camps in North Korea stand as stark reminders of the ruthless regime, where individuals find themselves incarcerated for actions that would not even be considered criminal in most Western legal systems. Instead, the North Korean government deems these acts as politically subversive, such as the mere act of introducing foreign cultural influences. It is unimaginable in any other context than that of an oppressively totalitarian regime for a young man like Warmbier to receive a 15-year sentence of grueling labor for attempting to pilfer a propaganda banner. The North Korean authorities alleged that he had colluded with a church in his homeland to orchestrate the overthrow of the state system, yet they failed to provide substantial evidence to support their claims. This incident exemplifies the extreme measures and unjust practices that prevail in North Korea, shedding light on the deep-rooted repression and lack of basic freedoms endured by its populace. In trying to comprehend the North Korean response to the situation, the strategic rationale behind their actions appears perplexing. Throughout history, North Korea has exhibited a pattern of releasing detained Americans subsequent to visits by significant American dignitaries. An illustrative instance of this occurred in August 2009, when American journalists Una Lee and Laura Ling regained their freedom from North Korean captivity. This liberation transpired subsequent to a visit to Pyongyang by former President Bill Clinton, who orchestrated their repatriation after their capture in March of the same year. Another noteworthy incident transpired in 2014 when the then Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, journeyed to Pyongyang with the objective of facilitating the return of imprisoned Americans Kenneth Bae and Todd Miller. Remarkably, during his interactions, Clapper noted the discontent of his North Korean counterparts upon realizing that his visit was not aimed at securing any diplomatic advantages for Pyongyang. This sequence of events underscores the intricate and mysterious dynamics involved in North Korea's handling of such cases. North Korea's treatment of Otto Warmbier starkly contrasts with its usual behavior, as it seemingly served no clear purpose for the regime. Contrary to North Korea's claims of releasing him on humanitarian grounds, the prevailing belief now is that the regime's intention was merely to prevent his death within their borders. The repercussions of this incident appear to offer little benefit to North Korea, while the evident losses are substantial. The tourism sector, which Kim Jong-un aimed to develop, is likely to suffer, particularly in terms of American visitors. Annually, around 5,000 Westerners travel to North Korea, with approximately 1,000 of them originating from the United States. Following the imprisonment of 2 US journalists in 2009, a total of 14 Americans have been detained in North Korea, leaving 3 currently incarcerated. Amid these events, Young Pioneer Tours, the agency responsible for Warmbier's trip, has already declared that they will no longer include American tourists in their future expeditions. The US government may potentially impose measures to dissuade or prohibit travel to North Korea, similar to previous restrictions on visiting Cuba, which could soon be reinstated. Notably, every tourist spending money in North Korea indirectly supports the regime's operations, including its nuclear and missile programs, given that all tour operators within North Korea are affiliated with the state. While some suggest that tourism could foster cultural exchange and mutual respect, it is interesting to observe that the US government expressed its intent in 1998 to facilitate group travel and exchanges with North Korea, reflecting support for policies of reconciliation with South Korea. Tourism and interactions with North Korea remain a topic shrouded in uncertainty when it comes to their beneficial outcomes. Over a significant period, discussions have occurred intermittently between representatives from North Korea and the United States, involving both current and former governmental figures in unofficial capacities. Recent dialogues have centered on critical issues such as the situation of American prisoners in North Korea, all while North Korea persists in its advancements in nuclear and missile tests, demonstrating a heightened level of technical sophistication. The advocates within the United States supporting diplomatic discussions with North Korea now find themselves navigating an even more challenging landscape following the tragic passing of Warmbier. The outlook for official US engagement with North Korea appears increasingly grim, particularly as the current administration would be reluctant to extend any concessions to a regime whose actions resulted in the death of one of its citizens. In the intricate dynamics of the North Korean power structure, it is plausible that certain factions within the regime advocated for the release of Otto Warmbier long before his health reached a critical state, while more rigid elements resisted until his condition became irreversible. It is widely acknowledged that the North Korean healthcare system falls significantly short of meeting Western standards. However, delving into the rationale behind North Korea's decisions at that juncture remains purely conjectural. It is only through speculation that we can attempt to comprehend the underlying factors. It is conceivable that the true motives and deliberations that culminated in the tragic demise of Warmbier will only come to light if someday the archives of the North Korean secret police are unveiled. This potential revelation holds the promise of shedding light on the circumstances and decisions that ultimately led to the fateful outcome. The mysterious Lonnie Zamora incident. Although there have been attempts to provide logical explanations and skeptics claiming that the UFO sighting was a deliberate deception to bring tourists to a quiet part of New Mexico, the observed UFO landing reported by police officer Lonnie Zamora is still considered one of the most reliable encounters ever documented, and one that continues to captivate UFO researchers and investigators even to this day, more than half a century later. Regarding the case, there is undoubtedly a wealth of material available. 3 distinct entities would conduct investigations into the matter, which include the US Army, the FBI, and the US Air Force investigators. The occurrence was shrouded in such a level of secrecy that even J. Allen Hynek, one of the investigators who had initially doubted such accounts, underwent a complete transformation in his perspective on the matter. For numerous UFO researchers, the Zamora encounter is regarded as very plausible and potentially significant, regarding the information present at the scene itself. Furthermore, it is important to consider the potential responses of different groups and organizations following the incident. On the evening of April 24, 1964, police officer Sergeant Lonnie Zamora was driving quickly on a roadway in Socorro, New Mexico, in order to catch up with a car that was exceeding the speed limit. Subsequently, when the car was still a significant distance ahead, the individual perceived a loud noise and observed a burst of fire in the atmosphere. Zamora would cease his chase of the racing vehicle and proceed towards the source of the explosion, contemplating the possibility of an aeroplane landing or a detonation in a storage shack containing explosives. While observing, he witnessed a serene descent of a flame that had a bluish-orange hue. While driving, he described the flame as funnel-like, but his attention was divided between the strange thing landing and the approaching road. While approaching the location, he became aware that the sound was still perceptible. The sound was defined as a roar rather than a blast. The duration of this noise would last for around 10 further seconds and would transition from a high frequency to a low frequency. As the item descended, Zamora encountered a steep incline that his vehicle had difficulty navigating, to such an extent that it required the officer 3 tries to conquer the ascent. At this point, the fast-moving automobile had already disappeared far away. The noise has ceased. He would persist at a brisk yet unhurried speed for several additional seconds. Subsequently, he noticed a gleaming item situated adjacent to the road, approximately 200 yards in front of him. Initially, Zamora held the belief that the thing situated in front of him was a car that had been turned upside down. He observed 2 individuals standing close to it, seemingly inspecting the vehicle and its environs. One individual seemed to observe his coming automobile. Each individual was wearing white coveralls. At the moment, he failed to observe any peculiarities save for their dimensions. Later, he would assert, they were either diminutive adults or substantial children. As he drew nearer, his pace somewhat reduced, he started to suspect that the vehicle was not actually flipped over. Subsequently, he characterized it as having an O form or like an egg, with a pale hue and made of aluminium. Additionally, he observed an unusual symbol or emblem on the exterior of the spacecraft. He would promptly transmit a concise report of his current whereabouts and circumstances to the dispatch bureau. Subsequently, he halted the police car and commenced the process of disembarking from the vehicle. Shortly after exiting the car, the loud noise resumed, and simultaneously, a blue flame emerged from the bottom of the spacecraft. Initially, he experienced apprehension regarding the possibility of an explosion, prompting him to swiftly throw himself into the ground. He would proceed to the rear of his police car, maintaining visual contact with the incident ahead. The intensity of the roar progressively increased, accompanied by a simultaneous escalation in frequency. Subsequently, the item ascended vertically into the atmosphere. As the craft started to rise, he could once more observe the blue flame with an orange hue beneath it. As the craft ascended, Zamora observed that it had a distinct oval form. In addition, he was able to perceive a distinct red mark or symbol on the side of the aircraft. The facade exhibited a remarkably sleek appearance, devoid of any discernible doors or windows. Zamora started to retreat slowly, positioning the car as a barrier between himself and the ascending vehicle. Subsequently, while reaching an elevation of around 20 feet, the vehicle ceased its upward movement and remained suspended for a few moments. Anxiety started to escalate in Zamora. Anticipating the possibility of another loud noise or maybe a fire, he briefly shielded his face with his arms for a few seconds. Upon second glance, the vessel was once again progressing in a linear trajectory, distancing itself from his position. Regaining consciousness, Zamora hastily returned to the automobile and transmitted a message by radio to the operator at the police station, Nep Lopez. He instructed him to gaze through the window in order to determine if he could perceive an object above. He maintained visual contact with the swiftly diminishing aircraft as it traversed the 6 Mile Canyon mountain area. Shortly after the craft disappeared from sight, Sergeant Sam Chavez, who had been alerted by Zamora's radio communications, arrived at the scene. He would remark on how his colleague appeared to be really pale. Nevertheless, when he investigated the location indicated by Zamora regarding the peculiar object, he found the unusual symbols to be highly fascinating, to say the least. Both Zamora and Chavez would proceed to examine the region that was currently engulfed in flames and vegetation. Visible smoke emanated from the apparent location where something was burning. Nevertheless, there was an absence of flames and no presence of combustible materials. In addition, Chavez noticed what seemed to be 8 different imprints. 4 of the indentations had a larger and rectangular configuration, whereas the remaining 4 displayed a smaller and circular shape. Zamora later asserted that he had not observed any legs when the thing was on the ground. It would only take a few hours for the press to learn about the incident. In a matter of days, the once quiet town of Socorro quickly gained prominence as the focal point of interest for the UFO community. UFO researchers and investigators would gather in the region. Several journalists from news agencies including United Press International and Associated Press would also be there. In addition, organizations like the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization and the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena would dispatch teams to the region. In addition, the US Air Force would dispatch representatives to conduct an official investigation. Ray Stanford, an investigator from the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, was among the first to arrive at the scene. Presumably due to this reason, Stanford seemingly interviewed multiple witnesses who could support the tale before it gained widespread attention. He would unearth a report to an Albuquerque television station, which may have started to help with a timetable of sorts, and he would also find a possible witness who just so happened to be driving through the state at the time of the sighting. The resident of Albuquerque called at 5:30 in the evening to report that an oval object was approaching the town of Socorro at a very low altitude and moving very slowly for its size. Additionally, there were other witnesses who asserted vivid recollections of perceiving a distinct boisterous sound during the approximate time when Zamora made his claim. Some individuals would even affirm having heard the second roar that Zamora alleged had taken place as he departed from his vehicle. Additionally, Stanford would discover from the Socorro police files that 3 different people had reported seeing a brilliant, shining object rising in the sky to the dispatch desk. The reports would have been received prior to any publicity of the incident. One particularly intriguing report originated from the La Madera region of New Mexico. Furthermore, the FBI would deem it appropriate to conduct an investigation. On the same day as the Zamora event, an unidentified flying object was sighted in the area. Despite ruling out the possibility of military aircraft, the nature of the item remained unknown. Subsequently, on the 26th of April, about after 1 in the morning, a neighboring inhabitant ventured outside to investigate the source of disturbance to his horses. During this encounter, the individual observed an object resembling a butane tank descending and touching down on the ground in close proximity. Upon resuming flight, the observer vividly remembered observing a blue-white flame emanating from the lower surface of the vehicle. In addition, he would observe significant depressions on the ground, as well as multiple smaller, more circular ones. Moreover, a scorched circular area on the ground was clearly visible as the landing place for a considerable period of time. The cops at the site immediately recognized that the indentations were recently created and not pre-existing. Moreover, they were constructed to resemble the impact of a substantial item in the vicinity, at an oblique angle. While Zamora was the sole police officer who directly observed the craft, several others, including Chavez, could provide ample testimony to confirm the genuineness of the incident. In addition, in Chavez's case, Zamora himself would assert that his fellow officer was experiencing a state of shock. Upon their arrival, everyone would assert that certain areas of the ground were still scorching and emitting smoke. The FBI investigation explicitly documented the presence of 4 non-conventional smoldering regions at the same site where Zamora alleged the occurrence of the incident. Chavez would additionally do a prompt and comprehensive search of the vicinity. He was unable to locate any tire tracks, except for the ones made by Zamora's vehicle. Furthermore, no other footprints were found that would indicate the presence of any other activity going to the landing spot. Prior to delving into the official military investigation, let us revisit one of the out-of-town tourists who were driving in the very location mentioned by Stanford upon his arrival. The proprietor of Whitting Brothers Service Station, situated in close proximity to the presumed landing site, Opal Grinder, willingly provided a statement as part of the official inquiry conducted by the US Air Force. Although he did not personally observe the incident, he was aware of 2 individuals who were traveling through the state and did witness it. He would assert that the vehicle arrived immediately following the loud explosion. The man who arrived to settle the payment for their merchandise would jokingly remark to Opal about the very low altitude at which the aeroplanes travel in this area. He responded apathetically, stating that a significant number of helicopters frequently traverse the vicinity. Moreover, it seems that the unidentified vehicle had overtaken Zamora's police car, even engaging in a conversation with Opal about it. Subsequent inquiry would ultimately uncover the identities of the mysterious individuals as Larry Kratzner, who had conversed with Opal, and his companion, Paul Keyes. Both individuals hailed from Dubuque, Iowa, and were in the process of returning to their hometown. In 1978, Ralph DeGraw, a UFO researcher, conducted interviews with the 2 men. Although he observed many inconsistencies when comparing it to Zamora's narrative and even among their own claims, considering that it had been 14 years since the occurrence and they were moving away from it, There were also some fascinating similarities that closely aligned. On April 25th, the United States military conducted an official interview with Zamora. Army Captain Richard T. Holder, the highest-ranking officer available from the neighboring White Sands base, was there, along with Arthur Burns from the FBI. Throughout the conversation, Zamora expressed his conviction that he had observed a clandestine experimental vehicle. Holder, however, promptly rejected this idea. He appeared to make a deliberate effort to inform the press that the military did not own any object that could be compared to the object described by Zamora. Shortly after the interview, Holder and Burns would promptly proceed to the purported landing site, equipped with flashlights to navigate in the darkness. The authorities would promptly establish a perimeter around the area, collecting samples and scrutinizing the charred sections of the vegetation. Researcher James E. MacDonald asserted that the military secretly confiscated a sample of fused sand. He asserts that a person named Mary Mays, who is employed as a radiological chemist in the Las Vegas Public Health Service, was also present at the Socorro site on that particular evening. While conducting her duties on behalf of the US military, she made the remarkable discovery of a solid, glass-like region located directly beneath the landing site. The majority of the samples she collected turned out to be sap. Nevertheless, there were numerous unidentifiable and unfamiliar organic substances. Some individuals made additional efforts to explain the incident as a result of meteorological conditions or a hot air balloon that had been affected by the wind. Nevertheless, this does not provide a satisfactory explanation for the deafening roars that were experienced by Zamora and many Socorro residents. Furthermore, it fails to elucidate the origin of the flames seen by Zamora. Alternatively, the smoke that was reported by the mystery tourists. Zamora had mentioned observing what he believed to be particles of dust swirling in the vicinity of the item. He was uncertain whether the movement was caused by the wind or if the dust was a result of the landing. Undoubtedly, Zamora himself would remember that the winds were blowing exceptionally strong that evening. Subsequent research has revealed a crucial feature that contradicts the notion that wind could have caused the movement of a balloon. All accounts indicate that the item was moving in the west-southwest direction. Nevertheless, this implies that the item would have been advancing against the opposing airflow. Clearly, this would entirely destroy the idea that a lightweight vessel was solely subject to the whims of the wind. In addition, as stated by Zamora, the object would ascend vertically. Moreover, it would remain suspended in the air for some seconds. The object's movements were not in line with those expected from anything dependent on wind strength for both direction and power. Despite extensive investigations, the Lonnie Zamora incident remains unexplained. It stands as a reminder that there are still phenomena in our world that defy easy explanation. Whether the incident was a glimpse of advanced human technology, an encounter with advanced beings, or something else entirely, it continues to provoke curiosity and debate. As of right now, the Lonnie Zamora incident is a cornerstone in the study of UFO phenomena. The detailed and consistent account provided by a reliable witness, combined with physical evidence, makes it one of the most compelling cases in UFO history. While the true nature of the encounter remains a mystery, it serves as a powerful reminder of the unknown and the need for continued exploration and open-minded investigation. The mysterious case of Beth Martin. The family of Beth Martin, a 28-year-old British mother who passed away unexpectedly in Turkey, is demanding urgent answers after her body was returned to the UK without her heart. The shocking discovery was made during a post-mortem examination conducted by British authorities, leaving her loved ones devastated and searching for the truth. Beth had travelled to Istanbul with her husband Luke and their 2 young children. Initially, she believed she had food poisoning from a meal the night before. However, her condition quickly deteriorated. Within a day, she became delirious and was later admitted to Marmara University Pendik Training and Research Hospital. Her family claims that despite the severity of her symptoms, communication from the hospital was poor and crucial decisions regarding her treatment were delayed. A move to a private hospital was reportedly requested by the family's insurance company, but the public hospital was allegedly slow in cooperating, refusing to release vital reports and transfer documents. According to family friend Robert Hammond, the delays and lack of transparency deeply alarmed Beth's relatives. He stated that Beth was subjected to treatment without a full understanding of her allergies, specifically penicillin, and was reportedly frightened by the care she received. Her husband and mother-in-law, who travelled to Istanbul to support her, were restricted from seeing her for hours. During that time, Mr. Martin was reportedly accused of wrongdoing and was made to sign documents through hotel staff who were acting as translators. Later, he learned of his wife's passing, leaving him and the children emotionally shattered. Further concerns were raised when it was discovered in the UK that Beth's heart was missing. The Turkish Health Ministry stated she had suffered cardiac arrest due to multiple organ failure, but denied any surgical procedures or organ removal. Her family is now left in limbo, awaiting a formal inquest while grieving a loss that remains wrapped in unanswered questions. Beth Martin's case has prompted widespread concern and support, with over £250,000 raised to assist her family during this difficult time. Her loved ones continue to search for clarity, determined to uncover what truly happened and to ensure her story is not forgotten. Mother and daughter capture a mysterious photograph. In the peaceful beauty of Butchart Gardens in Victoria, British Columbia, a mother and daughter visiting from Indonesia captured a photograph that has left many both in awe and in wonder. The pair had been enjoying a calm afternoon walk through the gardens, known for their vibrant floral landscapes and tranquil water features, when the daughter began snapping photos of a fountain set against a forested backdrop. What appeared on her camera screen was something neither of them expected. In every image she took, the fountain's spray seemed to form a striking, ethereal shape, what many have since described as an angel. The form appears to have outstretched wings, a gentle curvature resembling a body in flowing robes, and a faint, radiant glow that seems to rise upward into the light of the sky above. The timing, lighting, and angle aligned in such a way that it created something more than just a moment. It created a symbol. As the daughter reviewed her photos, she was stunned to see that this angel-like figure appeared in each shot without fail. The fountain itself hadn't changed, nor had the surroundings, but the way the water danced in that moment seemed to speak through the lens. To them, and to many others who have since viewed the image, it did not feel like a coincidence. It felt like a sign, graceful, peaceful, and comforting. Online and in personal circles, people who have seen the photo have been quick to express their thoughts, with many stating firmly that they believe the image captures more than water and sunlight. They believe it depicts a guardian presence, a visual manifestation of something divine. Whether it was a fleeting trick of light or something more, this beautiful moment remains a treasured memory for the mother and daughter who captured it. Solar eclipses have long been a source of fascination, wonder, and sometimes fear. As the moon passes between the Earth and the Sun, it creates a surreal twilight, casting an eerie shadow over the landscape and often prompting strange occurrences and reports. Throughout history, and continuing into modern times, numerous strange events and phenomena have been reported during solar eclipses. These range from unusual animal behaviors and unexplained atmospheric effects to mysterious celestial sightings. During the most recent solar eclipse, an unusual and mysterious phenomenon captured the attention of amateur astronomers and the public alike, with many describing that a human-shaped silhouette was seen close to the sun. This strange occurrence has sparked numerous theories and debates. The sighting occurred during the April solar eclipse, which was visible from several locations across the globe. As observers trained their telescopes and cameras on the eclipse, they noticed an anomalous figure near the sun. This silhouette appeared to be distinctly human-like, complete with what seemed to be arms, legs, and a head. The figure was positioned close to the sun's corona, the outermost part of the sun's atmosphere, which is typically visible only during an eclipse. Social media users quickly shared the mysterious photos and offered their interpretations of what they saw. Others were baffled by what they were seeing and even wondered if live broadcasts were glitching. However, eyewitnesses came forward to confirm that they had witnessed the same thing while watching the solar eclipse live. Strangely enough, after the eclipse had been going for less than an hour, onlookers had also reported seeing unknown objects high in the sky. Concerning the strange figure observed, some wondered if the figure was a result of the eclipse itself. A user expressed concern over the sighting, saying that it was ominous and that they could understand how people would have thought it was a god if it had occurred in ancient times. Photographs and videos of the event quickly spread across the internet, capturing the imagination of people worldwide. The clarity of the silhouette and its unmistakable humanoid form led to a flurry of speculation. Amateur astronomers were intrigued and puzzled by the phenomenon, prompting a range of explanations from the plausible to the fantastical. One of the most straightforward scientific explanations suggested that the silhouette could be the result of a technical anomaly or artifact. Cameras and telescopes, especially when pointed at a source as intense as the sun, can produce various artifacts due to lens flares, reflections, or sensor overload. Some posited that the human-shaped silhouette might be a coincidental alignment of these artifacts, creating an illusion that appeared human-like. But this doesn't explain how people were able to see it when observing the sun through their telescopes. Another scientific theory proposed that the silhouette could be an unusual formation of solar plasma, or a prominence. Solar prominences are large, bright features extending outward from the sun's surface, often forming loop-like structures due to the sun's magnetic field. If a prominence took on a coincidental shape resembling a human figure, it could explain the mysterious silhouette. However, solar prominences typically appear more chaotic and less defined than the figure observed during the eclipse. Beyond scientific explanations, the sighting also reignited interest in various myths and legends. Throughout history, solar eclipses have been seen as significant omens or supernatural events. Some cultures interpreted the human-shaped silhouette as a celestial being or deity watching over Earth. This interpretation drew from ancient myths where gods and supernatural entities were believed to interact with the cosmos, influencing natural events and human affairs. The sighting also sparked a wave of speculative theories in the realm of ufology and extraterrestrial life. Some enthusiasts suggested that the silhouette could be an alien entity or spacecraft, using the cover of the solar eclipse to observe Earth. This theory, while intriguing to many, lacked substantive evidence and was largely based on the silhouette's humanoid appearance and the enduring fascination with extraterrestrial life. Regardless of the explanation, the human-shaped silhouette seen during the solar eclipse highlights the enduring mystery and wonder that celestial events inspire. It serves as a reminder of the limitations of human understanding and the vast, unexplored complexities of the universe. This phenomenon underscores the importance of scientific inquiry and the need for open-mindedness when confronting the unknown. Anna Paulina Luna, who serves in the United States House of Representatives, says she got men in blacked. Luna stated in a recent audio interview with Grant Mitterlehner that she thinks that UFOs are cutting-edge technology that aren't human-made. She said that she got men in blacked, adding that a whistleblower came forward from Eglin Air Force Base and indicating that UAP action was essentially being covered up by the Air Force. Anna Luna said that at first, the Pentagon attempted to call off the first meeting, but they managed to get it back on file. In essence, the base commander attempted to inform them that they lacked authorized clearance. She was at odds with the commander of the base and questioned why an intelligence agency was required to attend a whistleblower meeting. She went on to talk about the disturbing facts she had learned about people that have potentially been taken out by talking about this information. She continued by stating that she believed Grush's description of the aliens as non-human intelligence meant that they weren't necessarily a biological species from another planet in and of itself.